This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1564, Comic Talk!
Laser beams, opinions like the seasons on everything you read in comics, movies, games, toys, artists, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek. Uniting the world's mightiest heroes. This is...
I'm Brian Chrisman.
I'm Adam Murdo.
I'm Chris Eberly.
I'm Peter Rios.
And welcome to the show. It's been a while since we've done one of these loosey-goosey, all over the place Comic Talk episodes. So we'll span all kinds of topics and things. And gentlemen, good to speak to you again.
Absolutely, brother. And by the way, I'm honored that our august founder is joining us this evening. Peter, welcome.
Thank you. Hey, boys, what's going on? I got nothing to do over the summer, I'm just sitting here in my underwear, so great. Aren't we glad this one isn't a video?
Yes. So, yeah, unfortunately, by the way, hello, Adam, as well.
Hi.
Shane could not join us this evening. He's actually out at the Reading Phillies baseball game this evening with his family, celebrating a little bit late birthday, so a belated happy birthday to you, Shane. Birthday was, I believe, on this Monday, June 22nd.
Happy birthday, brother.
Mm-hmm. Happy birthday, happy Father's Day.
Yes, as well. So
we're all getting so old.
Yes. Since it's so tough to operate the camera by myself, since I'm on the other side of the studio, I'll just do audio for this one. And besides, like I said, we're not wearing any pants. Well, before we get too far into the tomfoolery, I want to mention this episode of Comic Geek Speak is brought to you by Geek Nation Tours. Geek Nation Tours is off to New York Comic Geek style. They'll be headed not only to the uber-awesome New York Comic Con this October, but also be exploring New York City through a geek's eyes. Tour participants will see the regular New York City tourist locations like Hell's Kitchen, Central Park, and Times Square, but they will even stop by the fictional dress of the Fantastic Four, where Uncle Ben was shot, the Frick Museum, which is inspiration for the Avengers Mansion, the Daily Bugle, and much, much more. They even will be hitting a couple of comic book stores like Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash as seen on Comic Book Men. So this is going from Tuesday, October 6th to Monday, October 12th this year. What is included are all accommodations, all transfers, entry fee to New York Comic Con, which is pretty good because I believe it's pretty much sold out right now. Top of the Rock viewing area, New York by foot tour, all taxes, Metro Pass, a welcome dinner, a Hell's Kitchen dinner, lunch at the downtown, a farewell dinner, free hotel Wi-Fi, and an exclusive Geek Nation Tours New York Comic Con bowling shirt. So check out geeknationtours.com for their New York Comic Con package for October. All right, gentlemen. Well, also, I want to mention before we get too far on that, actually, I did see Shane today. He came by Casa de Pants. We're both on vacation. Well, actually, I'm going back to work tomorrow, but he's on vacation this week. And I've been doing some cleaning around the house, getting rid of a lot of things, going through some things. And I needed some advice on eventually how to organize and where to put my comics in the house. So I needed Shane, because he's done this many times with his house when he's moved, and he's got his wonderful upstairs section of comics and toys and everything. So he actually got a tour of the house today and left unscarred as far as I could tell, because he saw my room, he saw my attic where it's just a complete mess up there. But give it a couple of months, and I'll invite as many of you guys over as you'd like to help me sort and go through and organize the comics. But before then, I want to get a lot of the things that I'm going to get rid of to RetroCon up this September, where I'm going to try to sell some of my toys to get rid of them and clear up some more space in the house. And now, Chris, you're going to RetroCon, I believe, to set up. Is that correct?
I intend to. I haven't signed up yet, but it is my intention to do so.
Okay.
Yes.
Also, Shane is planning on setting up.
Really?
Oh, terrific.
Yes. My friend Pete Calder is also trying to set up because he's got the Raiders of the Lost Ark final scene sort of toy collection when you go down to his place. So he's got to get rid of some things. I believe Jamie's father is going to set up there to try to sell some of Jamie's toys as well. So it could be a good old time that at Oaks for RetroCon. I believe it's September 12th and 13th.
Well, when I sign up, I'll make sure I once again request that I'm adjacent to you, Pansy.
Well, now, it's tough because I may have other people beside me now if you don't get on the ball there quickly.
Well, as long as we're in the same general area so I can bask in your radiance.
A stone's throw away, if you will. Oh, and my flatulence. Don't forget that.
We should mention we should mention to listeners that if you're into vintage toys and older toys, you got to go to RetroCon.
Oh, yeah.
The selection of toys is I mean, I was very impressed with just the amazing amount and variety of toys they had, including a full G.I. Joe aircraft carrier last year. So definitely worth checking out.
Not to mention, there are several comic book dealers there as well.
Yes. Oh, yes. So
check that out. Also, just a little bit of a follow-up from our Heroes Con episode. Our listener we met down there, John Morrissey, goes by the Marvel Man. Is it the Marvel Man, Murd?
Yep, it is the Marvel Man.
On the forums, who lives up to that title because he's got a huge collection of Marvel. I think he's about 400 issues away from getting every Marvel comic ever.
Wow.
This, of course, is from FF1 onwards. He actually was going to send us some gifts back around Christmas time, but never got around to it. So I actually have them to open up and give to the various members of the show, but I figured do that for when we're more of us here in the studio, as well as on the camera, so open it up. So, John, in case you're listening, I have the package here, and we'll open it up on the air in the not-too-distant future.
That's for sure.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a lot of house cleaning to do at the top of the show here. Also, with the recent edition of the video in the studio, our fearless leader, Mr. Brian Deemer, has redesigned the CGS website at comicgeekspeak.com. And I've seen occasional posts or tweets or even some emails that people are having trouble finding some of our episodes in the archives.
Yeah, it's pretty much unsearchable right now.
Right. I am aware of that. However, I must just let you know that actually Brian is the only one of us who knows how to work the website and all that stuff.
Very true.
So, as I did see, Peter, you took care of a tweet the other day about the spotlights. It wasn't coming up on a search.
Yeah, the search function only searches words that are in the description, not the title, which, when it comes to spotlights, that's nothing comes up whatsoever.
Right.
So, it only really hits what's in the description right now.
But be assured that everything is still there. I know it's a little difficult to search right now, but if you have any specific concerns, criticism, constructive criticism, please, I would suggest emailing to Brian, BRYAN, at comicgeekspeak.com, because he doesn't always check whether it's the forums or Twitter. I do try to pass on the stuff to him, but he's got to fix it himself since he redesigned it. So just a little bit of advice for that.
He's passing the buck.
Well, yeah, because I don't know. If I could, I would, but I don't know. It's above my pay grade, as I like to say. I'm not that tech savvy.
Pants, I have a question because I haven't looked recently.
Certainly.
So all the different categories for different topics, is that not there anymore on the website?
I don't believe so. There's just this, you can search. Well, I can look it up while we're gabbing here. I believe there's a... well, like Peter mentioned, you can search the episode archive by description of the title. But if you go on the episodes link in the upper right of the homepage, there's some recent episodes there. And if you click on, there's like two boxes, CGS episode box, which lists by 1 to like 99 each of the various 100 episodes, and the different podcasts as well, the Comic Geek Speak main episodes, footnotes, World of Toys, etc.
I was just asking because you used to be able to search by specific episode categories of different types
sure.
of episodes.
I guess I know Brian is, working on something. So,
okay.
But again, everything is still there. I wanted to mention about the most recent World of Toys channel I did. We did a recent episode of World of Toys, episode 25, that it was designed to be a video-only episode. Since we were opening toys and putting things together, I figured it didn't make sense to record the audio of it. So as with all of our episodes now, new ones, they're actually on YouTube as well. So you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Even if it's audio only, we put them on YouTube also because it's another way to archive the episodes. But that was meant to be an episode only for video. And in my want to get it on the website of CGS as well, I hit a wrong button and it hit some people's iTunes that there was an episode. There was nothing there. That was my fault. There was never any audio only for that. I mean, sure, you can listen to the video, but because the files are so long, they're only going to, so large, are only going to be available on YouTube. So just so we're episode 25, we opened up a Batman Lego set and opened up and put together the Marvel Legends Infinite series, the Guardians of the Galaxy, where we put together a Groot to build a figure. So that's actually only available on the YouTube site, YouTube channel, Comic Geek Speak. So again, just some more house cleaning stuff. All right, into the meat. Who wants to go first with anything they got?
I have a couple CGS related things real quick.
Oh, certainly.
Because I was looking at the website myself. We have a couple anniversaries, actually. June 16th, 2005, we released the Batman Begins movie review podcast episode, which was Adam's first episode.
That's correct.
10 years.
10 years, yeah. Happy birthday, Adam.
Don't feel a day over 5.
And then June 27th of 2005 was the first Book of the Month Club episode ever on Crisis on Infinite Earths, another episode that Adam was involved in.
Yes.
It was, I think, my 3rd appearance on CGS, if I'm counting right.
And then in July 7th of 2005, episode 35 was released. And that was the episode that hit when iTunes started to support podcasting on its platform. So we did sort of like a catch-all episode. And I remember that episode, a lot of people saying, oh yeah, that was my first episode. Because that was the one that they could find through iTunes. And ever since then, they kept with it.
Oh, speaking of anniversaries, it's towards the end of June right now, but all this month at Golden Eagle Comics, they've been celebrating their 30th anniversary.
Wow.
With a 30th anniversary sale all month long.
30 years. That is deeply impressive that a comic shop has survived that long.
Yes.
That's actually miraculous.
And it's many different incarnations.
My hat goes off to them.
Yes.
I'm just sorry I won't be able to get there during the festivities to pay my respects and contribute something. But unfortunately, July 6th is my next scheduled trip home, so day late, dollar short. But congratulations to Scott and the rest of the Golden Eagle crew.
Yes.
I actually have an anniversary to announce, if I may.
Certainly.
Last night, little pop culture tangent, I went to see the 40th anniversary re-release of Jaws in the theaters. It was released on 2 days, the 21st and the 24th, and I made sure I got tickets for my family, and my parents also joined us. And I've loved that movie since I first saw it as a young kid. I mean, I was only 2 when it came out in the theater, so I didn't actually see it in the theater. So to see this movie in the theaters, in glorious full movie screen, full surround sound system, it was absolutely just thrilling. And the crowd was sold out. The place was packed.
Oh, wow.
People were, just... Everybody knew the movie. They all were laughing or hooting at the appropriate moments or shouting. It was just... It's still easily one of the greatest films for me ever made, and it's easily still one of Spielberg's greatest movies because it emphasizes the characters, and that's why it's so damn good.
Right.
But it was a real treat to see that in the big screen.
It's in my top 5 favorite movies.
Mine as well.
I love that movie. I love the adventure of that movie, and I'm sad that I didn't get to see it. I saw it in the movie theater too. They took me. I was a little bit older.
Yeah.
And they told me I threw up. It was like, no shit. I was, 5, 6, probably watching people's limbs being eaten off. Of course I threw up.
Now, did you go on the ocean readily after seeing the movie?
Probably, yeah, sure.
Good.
I think the shark population must be aware of the anniversary, too, because the incidence of shark attacks along the East Coast is on the increase this year.
That's true.
From the
That's very
headlines.
true, yeah, that's true.
Well, actually, maybe we can chat about this a little bit. We've been getting through the CJS email all day, right before we started recording, all kinds of press releases from Marvel about their all-new, all-different books that are coming out this fall. Because I guess we'll start seeing them. Well, of course, it's I think it's 2 weeks before Comic-Con's preview night as we recorded this. So we've got that coming up. And then I think just after that, we should see the actual solicits and previews. So we're going to start seeing all these new titles and teams coming up. But so I'm just going to go through a couple that came into, like just today, within the last half hour, according to this, we got in, this says, totally, ! Awesome, ! Hulk. It says, strap in, hold on, and Hulk out because you're in for a roller coaster ride. This fall, Marvel proudly brings to you the Totally Awesome Hulk #1, a brand new, ongoing series. We promise, true believer, you've never seen a Hulk like this before. Legendary and storied Incredible Hulk scribe Greg Pak returns to the Green Glass ongoing adventures, and he's bringing blockbuster artist Frank Cho along for the ride. I've seen a little bit that I think there's obviously a new person behind the Hulk. Have we speculated about that? Have we heard who it is officially? Do we care?
I'm getting jaded.
that's
I'll
fine.
reserve judgment until I actually see the first issue and give it a shot. But there have been so many reboots and relaunches up to this point that, forgive me, I can't get that excited about it. I mean, I'll certainly read them and give them a try, but, and Frank Cho, he's a great artist, but how long is he going to be on that book?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on.
That's the first thing I thought too, Chris. He's coming along on the ride. How long a ride will it be?
Yeah. So, but I'll certainly give it a try. I mean, I'm really enjoying Secret Wars thus far. And I'm interested to see what they're going to do. Well, first of all, how that's going to end, and what they're going to take out of that. I'm wondering if it's going to be just kind of a return to the status quo, just sort of like a slim facade of change on top of it, or is it going to be something very radical? I mean, we'll see. But I'll read it. Greg Pak is a good writer. I enjoyed Planet Hulk, so.
Well, this next one came in actually a few days ago, and this is probably one that's got a lot of people talking. Miles Morales braves a whole new universe in Spider-Man #1. He's the wall crawler that made pop culture history and took the Ultimate Universe by storm. Now he's ready to make history again as he finds a new home in a completely new universe. Welcome to the Marvel Universe, Miles Morales. Hope you survive the experience. Today, Marvel is pleased to announce Spider-Man #1, a brand new ongoing series starring Miles Morales, coming later this year. Comic superstars and Miles Morales co-creators Brian Michael Bendis and Sarah Pichelli begin the story that will have the whole world talking.
I'm actually more excited about that because I didn't stay with it. I'm way behind, but I really enjoy what Bendis was doing with Miles Morales as a character. I thought it was very well realized. I really believed he was a teenager, the voice he gave him. I love, is it Pichelli you said?
I believe that's how you said it, Sarah Pichelli.
Really enjoyed her artwork. I thought she gave him just the right feel to a character that young and inexperienced in his world. I think I heard somewhere that Peter Parker will be in the story as sort of a mentor. I don't know if that's completely true, but if so, I think that's great too. I mean, I'm sure some people are upset that the focus of the book will not be on Peter Parker, but I think Miles Morales is a very compelling character. I'm interested to see what Bendis continues to do with him in whatever the shape the Marvel Universe will take, in the wake of Secret Wars. So I'm interested, very much interested in that.
I find myself wondering whether or not Miles Morales will remember the fact that this is not the universe of his birth.
That's a good point.
Or if this is going to be a post-crisis kind of scenario in which retroactively he's lived here all along. I think the former would actually be a little more interesting.
That's a good point, Bird.
As the crisisologists in the room here, I think that's what would make this more likely a buy. But yeah, a mentoring relationship between Peter and Miles could be fun to read too. And do we have any idea whether or not there's still going to be such a thing as an Amazing Spider-Man title? Will Peter still be active as his own version of Spider-Man at the same time as he's coaching the new kid?
That is a great question. I don't believe at this point it's been announced to the public. I'm sure they have plans for him of some sort, but I don't know. There's been talk about, This is the first I'm hearing about the mentoring part, Chris.
That was I heard. Now I could be wrong. I heard that through customers at my store who were reading stuff about it. So I'm not saying that's definitive. That's just what they told me that they heard. But that could be wrong. I mean, it all depends on how Secret Wars ends, because right now both Miles Morales and Peter Parker are in Secret Wars. Mm. So we just have to see how that plays out. As a quick side note, did you guys? A customer told me also they've cast Spider-Man in the future Marvel films.
Somebody named
that?
Tom Holland. I saw that on Facebook.
That's correct. Yep. Supposedly he's a 19-year-old acrobat with I think he has a few movies to his credit, but physically it sounds like he might, and age-wise, he might be the what they're looking for. So
yeah, nothing wrong with casting a relative unknown if he really fits the part. In fact, that's to be encouraged.
Absolutely. I just go back to Christopher Reeve for the best example of that.
Well said.
I can't imagine that they won't do an amazing Spider-Man, considering the legacy of that title. And then you have to think, is Dan Slott done with his Spider-Man run? It feels like he would have something to say about that by now. I also thought what was interesting, the Miles Morales Spider-Man title, the image that they released with it, the logo is the same logo design from Web of Spider-Man, the initial web logo design with that, who was it, Mike Kaluta cover on Web of Spider-Man #1 way back in the 80s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The same way that they designed Spider-Man for this new Miles Morales ongoing is the same way they did the Web of Spider-Man thing. So I just looked it up to confirm it, which makes me think, okay, this is not going to be the only Spider-Man title. I have to imagine they're going to do another one with Peter Parker.
Good to hear.
Plus, it wouldn't be Marvel if they didn't flood the market, the stand, with as many multiple reproductions of one character as humanly possible. So,
yeah, that is the mighty Marvel manner. Yes,
it is indeed.
Oh,
more characters, more potential series, not fewer. And I did hear, shortly before we tripped down to Heroes Con last weekend, I did read someplace online an interview with Bendis and one of the editorial muckety-mucks at Marvel, in which they swore up and down that this whole Secret Wars business was going to be, and I quote, additive. This was a buzzword that they repeated several times over. This is an additive apocalypse, not a reconstructive or a subtractive apocalypse. So, yeah, all Secret Wars is going to do, according to them, is add things to the mainstream Marvel universe as opposed to take them away, addressing thereby the concerns and rumors about the X-Men and mutants and the Fantastic Four suddenly vanishing from the Marvel universe proper. So,
the use of that term additive, that sounds like a corporate roundtable came up with that word and they went forward with it as the party line. Just amusing to me, but anyway.
Like I said, yeah, buzzwords and things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
Jargon.
Yeah, one of the things that I think was pretty popular down at Heroes Con was Spider-Gwen. That seemed to be a lot of talk about that, and a lot of people talking about that, and a lot of, I think some of the creators were down there, Robbie Rodriguez, and always had a very, very long line. And I see that they're going to be a Spider-Gwen #1 this fall, again with Jason Latour, Robbie Rodriguez, and Rico Renzi. I know that this is Gwen Stacy from a different universe, is that correct? Where she was bitten by the radioactive spider, is that how that worked?
And Peter died, yeah.
Oh, and Peter died.
Right.
So I guess I'm trying to figure out how is she coming into this new Marvel universe, I guess is what I'm asking. Or is it going to be set somewhere else, do we know?
You got to read Secret Wars #8.
Oh, yes, you're right.
Yeah, Peter's right. I'm sure it's all going to come out of however Secret Wars ends. So they're probably going to fold everything. What do they want to keep into one universe? That's my pure guess at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Miles Morales is a good example of that. So
I see Captain America White #1 is coming in September.
That's right. I'm excited about that. I mean, I love all the color-themed stories that Loeb and Sale did, and they did the Captain America White 0.
Right.
I mean, I don't remember how many years ago that was. 2000s, I think, the previous decade. And it was wonderful, but then that was it. So I'm really thrilled they're returning to that.
Mm.
All those color-themed stories I highly recommend to listeners if you haven't read them. Hulk Gray, Spider-Man Blue is my favorite, which takes place in the Silver Age before Gwen dies. Daredevil Yellow. They're all excellent. So.
North Star Pink.
God, I miss Peter.
And there's one more here I wanted to mention. This came up from yesterday, I believe. The all-new, all-different Avengers assemble this fall. The Marvel Universe returns this fall, and at the forefront, a brand new band of Earth's mightiest lead the charge as a premier team of the Marvel Universe. Tony Stark, a.k.a. Iron Man, returns to lead an all-new and all-different Team Avengers. Captain America, and mentions who that is right now. I'm not sure if I should spoil that, who Captain America is. Thor, I certainly won't mention who Thor is right now, just in case. Vision, and the unlikeliest of heroes, Miles Morales, a.k.a. Spider-Man, Nova, and Ms. Marvel. Today, Marvel is pleased to announce the all-new, all-different Avengers #1, a new ongoing series from blockbuster writer Mark Waid and artistic duties from Adam Kubert and Mahmoud Asrar.
Okay, now I'm paying attention.
Yes.
No, that's a very exciting creative team.
Yes.
And anything Mark Waid writes, I read immediately, as long as I get my hands on it. But I really like the mix of characters they put there. Now, my guess is that it's going to be the Sam Wilson Cap, and it's probably going to be the female Thor, because I think what Marvel's doing here, and I think it's a smart move, they're further reflecting, the 21st century demographic of the United States by including, characters like very young characters, and then the new Miss Marvel. Is she from Pakistan? The new Miss Marvel?
Well, her
Jersey City.
Star, but
Okay, yeah. So
she's Pakistani American.
Right, that's right. So you have this really eclectic mix of characters. And in Miss Marvel, I've only read the first few issues, but what I've read is great. I have to catch up on that series. And, you anchor it with, I guess Tony Stark's not going to be a dick again. We'll have to find out. But, he'll be the anchor of the old guard, and I think it's a great idea. And if Mark Waid's writing it, and Mark Waid could be writing about taking out the garbage, and it would be interesting to me. So, Mark Waid could write a grocery list, and I'm going to read it. So I'm really excited by the team they've chosen. And I'm definitely that of the three books you've mentioned, that's the one I'm most excited about.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well,
that would be a perfect segue into our main topic.
I was on that same wavelength with you. Take it over, buddy. Take it over.
I can't. I got a few more thoughts.
Oh, well then go ahead with your thoughts.
First of all, thank you, Chris, for not saying the word diversity when it comes to, the way you said about reflecting the 21st century is exactly right. Thank
you, sir.
That's a whole other topic, but it's the correct. It's the better way to say it, and a lot of people get caught up with, they're diversifying. No, they're not. They're reflecting what's actually out there.
I think our country is long past the politically correct use of the term diversification because I agree with 100%. It just doesn't apply. It's clunky and it doesn't reflect the country at all in that sense.
The other title that maybe Pants would have said, but I think maybe Adam might be really interested too. They're going to do another Squadron Supreme title.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
James Robinson.
I have that here somewhere. Yeah.
Leonard Kirk.
Uh-huh.
And it has a kind of Exiles feel. It has the Hyperion from the current Avengers book, but it has the Nighthawk from the Supreme Power series.
Okay.
And it has the Squadron Supreme team is made up of different versions of their characters.
Now, are there any characters in the original Grunwald series?
That I don't know.
Well,
I didn't get too deep. So if Pants has the press release,
I do. I actually did skip over this one. Yeah, they're the sole. Well, they're each the sole survivor of a lost Earth. Now they'll do anything to protect this one, whether you like it or not. But is the Marvel Universe ready for this new team of Titans? Today, which was, according to about 4 hours ago, Marvel is pleased to announce Squadron Supreme #1, a brand new ongoing series from Eisner Award-winning writer James Robinson, critically acclaimed artist Leonard Kirk, and covers by legendary painter Alex Ross.
Ooh.
Hyperion, from the Avengers, it says here in parentheses, Nighthawk, Supreme Power, Dr. Spectrum, The Great Society, Blur, DP7, and Warrior Woman, Squadron Supreme, don't care what the rules are, and they're not out to ask for permission. And it goes on from there. The first target is Namor. So, yes.
Anything James Robinson writes, I try. Have you guys read Airboy yet?
Not yet. Shane actually, I saw Shane the other day. He actually bought a copy of issue 1. So when my shipment comes, actually, I think in the next few days, I should get Airboy number 1 and read that probably at the top of the pile.
I look forward to discussing it because I'm very excited about the possibilities of this book. So.
Yep. Still waiting on my copy as well, but any day now, hopefully.
Yes.
What do you think of that setup, Adam, for Squadron Supreme?
Pretty fascinating. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be them versus the post-Secret Wars Marvel Universe. It sounds like he's going skewing a little the Authority with it, in that they seem to be doing what's right for the world, even if the world doesn't agree, and they're actually going to be attacking other so-called champions. So that's all kinds of fascinating geopolitical stuff he could do with that. And, his Namor is the head of a sovereign nation. But what interests me most is the fact that we're dealing with representatives of all the different iterations of the Squadron that Marvel's done over the years. And I think that this version of the Squadron could end up fighting each other as much as they do fighting the rest of the Marvel U. I think there's going to be a lot of personality conflicts, some friction. So it's kind of like the Justice League not only battling the Marvel Universe, but also imploding a little bit and squabbling among themselves. So you enjoy conflict on many levels, written by James Robinson. Well, actually, I can think of a few writers who might actually do this premise a little better than Robinson, honestly. But I'm still going to give it a try to see what he does.
Absolutely.
Not too far off from that 80s series, though, right? Where they were all fighting each other and picking sides.
Yeah, but it was kind of a two-faction thing, though. Nighthawk and his Redeemers. It's all about the controversial behavior modification program. Here, it's like people coming at this from all kinds of different ideological positions and trajectories. And so there's like 5 or 6 of them, none of them members of the same version of the Squadron Supreme, and they're trying to work together for, a goal, and we don't really know exactly what it is that they're aiming to do in the new Marvel Universe. But they may not even agree on that among themselves. So we could have all kinds of internecine stuff going on. And, it's going to be even more fractious and factional than the original was, which could make it more fun, or maybe just the opposite. Only way to find out is to read it.
That's correct.
I like what you said about the Authority feel to it, because I immediately thought, this is an interesting way for Marvel to have a Justice League type book in their lineup, or, something that is very, it's practically a DC team. It's like doing a Justice League in their universe before DC does the movie or something like that, right? But then throwing the Authority spin on it, I like that. That's a cool twist, yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to do a Justice League doppelganger thing, you might as well ape the most successful Justice League doppelganger thing of the last 20 years.
All right, so how's that segue working for you now, Peter?
Well, Chris brought up James Robinson,
yes,
too.
He did.
I just threw this out there to the guys to see if this would be something interesting. This is actually a topic that came up from the Al Sedano, I think his name is, on Twitter like last year, and I talked about it. I put a post on it way back on my site, and then I thought, oh, you know what? This could be a really great topic for a comic talk episode. I'm sorry, Sandy Parker was the guy, and basically, although he kept it to creators, the question is who or what are your instant auto pulls from the shelf or from previews? What comic creator or creators, what creative team, what character, what title, maybe a genre, a publisher. It's really wide. Which one of those, when you see their name or their character name or whatever, do you say, "Oh yeah, I'm buying it"? No questions asked. You don't have to tell me anything. So. It's not a top 5. It's just, we can just throw around and discuss. Chris obviously already mentioned 2 of them. And it doesn't have to be the degree that you get everything. But maybe like what Chris said about James Robinson, he'll at least try the first issue or something like that. So anybody want to throw some stuff out?
Well, I'm sort of in the mindset that for the longest time for me, it was pretty much just character-driven. I was what got me back into comics in the late '80s was finding out about Barry Allen dying, because I was a big Flash fan, and that got me into the Wally West Flash series, which I loved, and then I also loved a lot of JSA characters and superheroes in general from DC. So that's what I used to go to. Slowly, I evolved, and he mentioned Mark Waid. Mark Waid was and still is, for the most part, one of the creators I will give almost everything a try for. Try that he's written. One of the big glaring exceptions is when he started on Daredevil for a couple of years ago. He took over right after that horrible Shadowland, and I was pretty much done. I said, this ruined Daredevil for me, because I got on with Kevin Smith, and even Mark Waid on Daredevil didn't get me into it. Well, then, of course, I realized I what an idiot was. This is a great series, and, got on it then. But I'm reading Empire now of his. I actually went back, and I was getting, oh my God, Irredeemable and Incorruptible from Boom at the time. I sort of dropped off on that. I'm still loving his Daredevil right now. I'm going to be getting the other series I forgot already, but we just announced he's writing. For Marvel.
All new Avengers.
Oh, yeah. All new Avengers. Absolutely. I'm going to be getting that. So, again, for the most part, he's one of the guys I will go to. Because there's very few characters right now that I have to, I'm not getting the Flash right now. I'm not getting any DC. So it's not characters for me. It seems to be, I'll try things just for the way they sound. But Mark Waid's one creator. The other creator that I'll pretty much get anything from right now is Terry Moore. After reading Strangers in Paradise, when he announced doing Echo, I was on board with that. Then when he announced he's doing Rachel Rising, on with that. And it's Strangers in Paradise Kids, which is wonderful right now. So Terry Moore is it for me right now.
Are you picking up Mark Waid's Shield? By any chance, Pants?
See, no, I am not. Oh, I'm also getting, when he's going on Archie, that got me interested in Archie again.
Oh, there you go.
But no, I'm not picking up Shield. So again, most things, more than anything else, because usually for me it's a topic, a character, not necessarily a creator or creator team.
Okay. Adam, what do you got?
Well, for me, it's, I guess, about 50-50 creator versus character. I cleave to either one depending on the circumstances. And there are really very few characters or creators that I will just follow blindly into any project that's announced. There are some characters or creators that, when I hear their name mentioned, make me 80% more likely, at least, to give the product a fair shake and maybe even buy it. And, the aforementioned Mark Waid is definitely in that category for me. James Robinson, too. Alan Moore, Grant Morrison. These are kind of the big obvious ones. Probably the one creator whose work I would follow blindly into any project, if only because he does so few of them these days, is Kurt Busiek. He's doing The Autumn Lands Tooth and Claw, and he's doing Astro City, which I continue to follow religiously from DC Vertigo. But he's really not doing much else. But if any project of his, even if it's in a genre or a character in which I have no interest whatsoever, I would probably just pick it up simply on the strength of his name. And I can't say that about very many other creators at all. On the art end of things, usually I jump at the chance to pick up something drawn by Alan Davis. George Perez, of course, is a biggie. Phil Jimenez, when he does something new. Nicola Scott, I'm getting new respect for her artwork, so I'm getting to the point where I'll seek that out. As far as characters go, the characters that make me jump tend to be the little oddball, weirdy, villain-type character. Bizarro, for example. Mixus Pitlick, Batmite, Toyman, the Crime Syndicate of America, and any appearances that these kind of eccentric and offbeat supervillain type characters make, I will grab right away, especially if it's a solo series. So the Batmite miniseries coming out from DC, I was a lock for that as it was announced. Likewise, the Bizarro series, of course. So just as far as characters that are considered to have more star power, that carry their own series from month to month, there are no sure things with me. I tend to triangulate between that and the creative team and the description given of the premise before I make my decision as to whether or not I'm going to give it a try. So yeah, there are relatively few sure things for me when it comes to buying new comics. But yeah, I guess Kurt Busiek is probably the most bankable example I can give right now for myself.
I love that Adam. That surprises me actually, but maybe not. I love that he's a little more selective than when it comes to back issues. You know, because I know you, for one, Adam, you don't mind when back issues are all out of alphabetical order and just random, and you find little gold nuggets along the way.
Exactly, it's about the thrill of the hunt.
Yeah, that's right. Kurt Busiek, Phil Jimenez apparently is working on. I don't know if he's working on interiors, but at least he's doing characters he's never done before. He's posting it on Instagram and other places. He's doing like a major cover series for G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Which sounds kind of interesting. So again, I don't know if it's interiors, but he's showing snippets of his cover work. Yeah, you're right. Kurt Busiek has kind of been, I don't want to say dethroned, but he you could sort of put him with James Robinson and Mark Waid there in like the late 90s, early 2000s, of those guys who had a certain sensibility about their writing that was very Roy Thomas-y, very, very, a lot of legacy, a lot of lineage, a lot of continuity, a lot of history. Yeah.
Yep. There was a time when he was one of the prime architects of the Marvel Universe, shortly before Quesada came on board as editor-in-chief and the big shakeup took place.
Yeah, you're right. He was writing Avengers with Perez and Iron Man. Mm-hmm. Arguably the two biggest books right now for Marvel.
And I think it's fair to say Busiek's run on Avengers is one of the hallmarks of the entire series. Those are books that they've been collecting them in omnibuses, and they're also in trade. And if you go back and read them, to me, it's still some of the most exciting Avengers stories yet produced. So,
absolutely,
I think Busiek's work is a great balance between, as Peter said, he really harkens back and shows respect to the lineage and the continuity, but then he puts a very fresh perspective on everything. It's not like he's just copying, a Roy Thomas style. He's doing his own thing, but he's very reverential, as is Robinson and Starman, for example, to what came before. And I think that's what makes them just all-time great writers in the comic book medium. So, and those are two guys. I mean, may I go for a minute? I don't want to step on anybody else's toes.
Of course.
Go right ahead.
My Peter, I thought this topic was titillating, to say the least. And I came up with an extensive list, and I actually found that I divided it where there were certain writers I've put down in terms of historical, like back-issue writers. They may not be very active today, but if I seek out their work from the past, or I return to arcs that I really cherish, these are writers that I always return to. And then there's the writers who are very active today, who basically anything they produce, I'm going to at least try it. In most cases. Now, I'm not going to wax rhapsodic at length on every name because it would take forever, but in terms of writers that are very active today, Brian K. Vaughan, right away, anything he writes, I'm going to try it. I mean, between Ex Machina, Runaways, and Why the Last Man, and now, of course, Saga, for me, he's the best writer in comics today.
That's somebody I forgot. Thank you very much for bringing him up, Chris.
From my perspective, I think I think there's a lot of great writers, but I think he's on a level all his own, just by the sheer diversity of the work that he can produce, and he does it so effectively. Another current writer I really enjoy is Brian Wood, who is also extremely diverse in terms of the topics he approaches in his storytelling. Again, anything he produces, I will at least try it. And in most cases, I stick with whatever series that he's writes. I haven't tried his new book. I think it's called Starve. That just came out. I haven't read that yet. But between Rebels, which has been wonderful so far, I love DMZ. Sorry, Jamie. His Northlanders book on the Vikings was outstanding. His Conan book was wow. I never enjoyed Conan so much in my life. Another writer, again, who's just he can just write about any topic and make it interesting. And I think that's what comics needs. It can never have too much of just showing how diverse the topics in a comic book can be, how they approach different plot lines. Another writer that I read anything they can produce is Jason Aaron. Going back to his other side book from Vertigo, which is a magnificent Vietnam War story, which he wrote I think it was back in the 2000s. And then when you look at what he's done with Thor, which is, by the way, did you guys read Thor's #1?
I did not. I did not get it. It was one of the ones I did not get from Secret Wars and tie-ins.
Wow. All I'll say is it takes Secret Wars and then combines it with a police procedural and a buddy cop movie. It's so good. And again, it's pure Aaron. His work on Thor, his independent book Southern Bastards, which is tremendous, one of the best books in the stands today. Of course, Scalp, which is a classic Vertigo series. Another writer that anything he does, and his current Star Wars book, I'm cherishing for how much it captures the feel of the film. So that's another writer I love.
Again, can I cut in?
Please, sir. Please.
This will tie to our conversation about new Marvel titles. He'll be writing, along with artist Chris Bachalo, the new Doctor Strange series.
Oh, wow.
Jason Aaron on a Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange hasn't had an ongoing series in a long time, so there's a creative team.
And in fact, thinking of Doctor Strange, I think of that magnificent miniseries that Vaughn did, The Oath. Which Marvel does not keep in print in trade for some reason. I'm sure they will when the movie comes out.
That was a tremendous read. Yes. Oh my goodness, that was great.
Yeah, and if you're interested in Doctor Strange, you never really read any Doctor Strange. I mean, you should read the early Ditko stuff and the great Roger Stern stuff from the 80s, for example, but and the Gene Cole and Roy Thomas stuff from the later Silver Age. But if you just want a quick jump into Doctor Strange, the essence of the character, just find an old trade of The Oath or the back issues. Fantastic Doctor Strange story.
Yep.
We mentioned James Robinson, of course. I mean, I don't care what he does. He wrote Starman. That means anything he writes, I will try. Because to me, Starman is still one of the finest comic book series ever produced in the United States, without question. Ed Brubaker. I mean, the guy just keeps knocking out of the park from between his legendary Captain America run, between the great work he did on Daredevil after Bendis' classic run, which we'll be discussing shortly. His crime stuff with Sean Phillips, Fatale, the new and great Fade Out, Criminal. These are all... This is a creator at the peak of his powers, and I can't recommend his work enough. Another writer, he can write the phone book on a read is Garth Ennis. Ever since I read Preacher and then Hitman, Ennis and I share a very similar sense of humor, which means dark and twisted, and his command of military history knows no peer, which is a passion area of study for me. So between his Vertigo stuff, and you go back to his earlier Hellblazer work, and then all the military comics he's done, the guy, I just find his work so visceral and so exciting, but there's always a heart to it and a moral center. Such a great creator. We mentioned Mark Waid. We mentioned, of course, Terry Moore, Pants. I couldn't agree with you more there. Alan Moore, of course. I mean, all the classics. Neil Gaiman, anything he writes, I'm going to read immediately. Murd mentioned Grant Morrison, of course. And then, Capri Usyk, Warren Ellis. I would also mention Matt Wagner. Matt Wagner is still a creator who's very relevant. And I was first introduced to him when I read some of his early Grendel work, the miniseries Grendel War Child. I went back and read the older Grendel stories. He's another writer who can pretty much do anything. And he's also a great penciler as well. But I just read his Shadow Year One, which was tremendous. And he just did a Grendel versus Shadow, which was also outstanding. This is another creator, and you think back to his Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Trinity storyline. Or he did those two early Batman stories pre-Robin, Batman and the Monster Men, and what was the other one?
Batman and the Mad Monk.
And the Mad Monk, or something like that. Thank you, Murd. Those are also great. Again, to me, the best writers are very diverse in the topics that they choose. They just don't just write one type of story or one format or one type of character. They can do it all. And I think all the writers I'm mentioning here, they pretty much can do it all. Matt Fraction. I was first exposed to him when he took on. I didn't really read. Peter, what was it Casanova, the indie book that he did?
Yep, Casanova.
Yeah. Which I've never read. Did you read that?
Oh, it's so good.
Okay, I've never read that, so I have to read that. I was first introduced to him when he started his great Invincible Iron Man run, in the 2000s. He was on that book for quite a while, and to me, that's one of the high watermarks of the whole Iron Man series. It's an outstanding and very consistently high quality era in the Iron Man history, and of course, the guy's doing Sex Criminals, which is one of the most fun and innovative comics for me out there right now. We'll be discussing that first volume on this show very shortly.
I think that's probably why you'll like Casanova. When that hit, it felt like he was doing a new twist on Steranko's Shield. And it's bizarre.
Now I want to read it even doubly so.
Yeah. I mean, to the point where, when he went to Marvel, I thought he lost a little bit of his unique voice, and then got it again in Sex Criminals. So and Satellite Sam with Chaykin and all that other stuff. So yeah, I mean, you got to read Casanova. It's really good, really good.
Well done, sir. And of course, I have to mention Christopher Priest, as I often do in this show ad nauseum. Again, I revere, as Peter does, his Black Panther run, which finally Marvel is trading the whole series.
Finally,
yes. Again, I'm sure because the movie's coming out, and we'll at some time down the road we are going to do a full on Black Panther spotlight that's coming down the pike eventually. But Murd will talk about his wonderful Quantum and Woody series. And which I have not read yet, but I have the omnibus for it. It's one of my summer reading projects.
Get on it.
Sir, I've been given my assignment, and I will follow through. But again, Priest has such a wonderful sense of humor. He's very much got his finger on the pop culture zeitgeist, on the current event zeitgeist. He works all that into his stories. The Black Panther character you're going to see on the screen, I guarantee, would not exist without what Christopher Priest did with that character, and also Don McGregor before him in the Jungle Action stories. Forget the area that's come after that. They're all just building on what Christopher Priest basically did, essentially. I like how Hickman has portrayed the Panther recently, but that wouldn't exist without what Priest did. Pants, you mind if I go into my historical writers? I don't want to take up too much time, but...
Well, I want to give a plug to the CGS archives. CGS episode 256 from May 24th of 2007, Off the Rack on Casanova 1 through 7 with Matt Fraction and Jeff Clock.
I remember that episode well.
Oh, the Jeff Clock era was so fun.
Let's just listen to those two batting ideas back and forth in the ether above our heads while the rest of us just kind of sat there and bathed in the afterglow.
There was nothing funnier than having Jeff Clock on the phone and just looking over and just seeing Brian's exasperated face.
Now, why was Deemer exasperated?
He doesn't know metaphor, back then. It was just fun. It was fun. I mean, think about the Animal Man Book of the Month Club that Jeff was on, and the big hoopla that went on that. Like, it just was fun. It was fun because Jeff Clock was out there. He still is, but he's got great ideas. And I forgot that we did that episode. Yeah.
I've never listened to that one. I'll have to give it a listen.
Yeah.
Megan, go on, Pants.
Chris,
again, I don't
please.
So, again, I thought of, Murd was talking before about back issues and the thrill of the hunt. So I was thinking about writers, and I'm going through bins either for my, in the shop, or I'm buying stuff for the shop, or things for my own reading pleasure. Who are certain writers in certain eras that if they wrote something, I'm going to read it. Well, first and foremost, I thought of Jerry Conway. Obviously, he's still active today. He just did some Spider-Man stories, which I have not read yet.
Some point ones, I think, like 16
exactly,
point ones.
Yep.
Yeah.
But his 70s work is so prodigious, and you guys did a wonderful interview with him several years ago. Again, his Amazing Spider-Man run for me is still tops, and he wrote so many other Marvel series, like Thor, for example, did a lot of DC work. Peter referred to his beloved Detroit JLA, for example, which Conway wrote. He's a writer that when I think of the Bronze Age, and if I want to revisit Bronze Age stories, he's one of the first writers I'm going to check out. Stan Lee, from about 1965-66 to about 1969 or so, I think he's at the height of his powers as a scribe. That's when I think Spider-Man was really firing on all cylinders. In terms of his writing, working with John Romita Sr., Jim Mooney, John Buscema, really fun stories. I just think Lee really truly found his voice in terms of how it was really just tucked into the late counterculture zeitgeist of that time, which he kind of did sometimes in a very clunky manner, but it's so fun and charming. And I think Lee, once he moved on from there, for me, kind of lost it as a writer, although with a couple notable exceptions throughout the rest of his career. But this is a period where I especially love Stan Lee's work.
Chris,
please.
A couple quick plugs. CG's
Yes.
Archives, episode 83, Spotlight on Stan Lee. Episode 701, a conversation with Jerry Conway. And as a somewhat of a follow-up, episode 1385, the 2013 Denver Comic-Con panel on Jerry Conway, hosted by yours truly.
Didn't you take him to a ball game?
I took him to the Dodgers-Rockies game the night before, yes.
Outstanding.
Yes, that's a memory I'm going to hold in my heart for quite a while, because that was fun. Just sitting with Jerry Conway at a ball game, a Dodger ball game, where he's, that was a lot of fun.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think that episode 83, Peter, didn't you interview Stan Lee at the end of it? Didn't he come on
Yes.
the air? That's right.
Brian
we were all
D.
sitting
Moore.
there, and yeah, that's what he said. He comes on, he goes, Brian D. Moore.
Roy Thomas. I mean, now he's very much active in Alter Ego and the Tomorrow stuff, which is invaluable historical work. And I revere the guy, what the guy's done for comics. But when you look at the sheer breadth of what Roy Thomas has done in his career as a writer, I find him consistently entertaining, thoughtful. He took risks, like bringing Conan in, the things he did with All-Star Squadron, of course, his legendary Avengers run. To me, he's one of the most important writers in the history of comic books.
Episode 230, Spotlight on Roy Thomas.
And Peter, I think you guys, I want to say you interviewed him twice on the air, if I remember correctly. I think you brought him on for a Captain America spotlight on the Silver Age.
In the Marvel Age, episode 875.
Yep.
Basically, what Pants is doing is showing that the search function does work.
How are you plugging these in the search field there, Pants?
Say that again?
How are you plugging these in? You're just doing like a name? Or...
I typed in Roy Thomas, and those two actually came up.
Yeah. Now, Frank Miller.
Oh, my goodness. Here we go. We did that.
Two of my two all-time favorite comic book arcs are Daredevil Born Again, which will be discussed in the not-too-distant future, and Batman Year One. Both were also drawn by David Mazzucchelli, another creator I revere. Now, how should I put this? Ever since I suffered through Holy Terror, I don't know if Frank Miller still has what he had in the time period I'm referring to. Peter, you're about to say something.
Well, I was going to say we're going to find out, I guess, in another year or so.
Dark Knight Volume 3, right?
Yeah.
Episode 1519, Spotlight on Daredevil in the Miller Age.
Thank you, sir. But look, regardless of, I kind of think the guy's politics are totally off the hook, wacky at this point. I kind of equate that to the Dennis Miller school, where people suddenly realize there's terrors in the world and they get all self-righteous and conservative about it, like it wasn't happening before 9/11, which I actually find just ignorant and narrow-minded. But anyway, and then Dennis Miller was no longer funny at that point also. But that tangent aside, you can't underestimate how important Miller is in the history of comic books. And to me, he's still, when I go back to his older work, I can read Year One and Born Again. I read them every year, at least once or twice. And we just talked as Pants, but not too long ago we did the Daredevil in the Miller Age. The guy is a giant in certainly from the 1980s, late 70s forward. Sin City, of course. So very much a creator from those eras I'm always looking at. Roger Stern. I don't think he's very active today, but when I think about his Captain America work with Byrne, when I think about his Doctor Strange stories, his Superman stuff, his great Avengers stuff, wonderful writers, amazing Spider-Man work. This is all from the 1980s primarily. From that period, when I think about 1980s back issues, he's a guy I go to right away because I think he's just a consistently outstanding comic book writer. Marv Wolfman. When I think about Tomb of Dracula, Noon Teen Titans, what else? Crisis on Infinite Earths. All these wonderful period moments in the 1970s and 1980s. He's just a consistently great writer. We have two gentlemen here who part of their lifetime-long passion is studying some of this man's work, both New Teen Titans and Crisis for Peter and Crisis for Adam. So a vitally important writer. Is he still working? I mean, he did that New Teen Titans Convergence two-parter, right? He wrote that.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, which I enjoyed. Did you read that, Peter?
No, not yet. I haven't. It just came in my shipment from DCBS. But
let me know what you think. I think you're going to enjoy it.
I'm sure.
So, Jim Starlin. And he's still active. He just came out with a new Thanos graphic novel, which I haven't read yet. I'm going to get that done soon, Murd, so I can hand it off to you in the very near future. But when I look back at all of Starlin's just hugely influential 70s work, which Murd is very much an expert on, Adam Warlock, Captain Marvel, Thanos, the Death of Captain Marvel graphic novel, which I usually read at least once a year. Another writer I love to return to in the 70s and 1980s. John Byrne. We've talked about him many times. I mean, this was Jamie D's all-time favorite creator.
Indeed.
There's rarely something Byrne has done that I haven't enjoyed. When we go starting with what he did with Iron Fist, with Claremont in the 70s, which are excellent stories. Then, of course, the legendary X-Men run. We just did a spotlight on his magnificent and pivotal Fantastic Four era. The Next Men was really fun in the 1990s. His Superman stuff. It's Byrne. That's always a back issues I'm happy to pluck out. And then Chris Claremont. I don't know how well he writes now. I haven't looked at any of his more recent work, but when I go back to the 70s and 80s, I'm quite happy with his X-Men stuff, his Iron Fist stuff, and he was all over the place. New Mutants, various one-shots. Claremont has that distinctive voice that so fits with the 1980s in so many ways. And the last person I'll mention, because I've monopolized enough airtime, is Bill Matlow. I've always been a Matlow fan. Rom, Micronauts, his Hulk stuff. Again, some people don't think he's not much of a writer. I don't think he's a top tier master, but I think he was a very steady, solid writer who world built otherwise forgettable toy properties and made them significant parts of comic book history and comic book culture. So I'm always a Matlow fan when I see his stuff in the bins. I'm spent.
Yeah, well, someone's did their homework in there.
Well, I was so excited by Peter's topic because for me, especially in recent years, I go it's not even about characters, although Dr. Doom is an exception. It's really about who's writing the book, and that's what turns me on.
I'll go through some stuff here. Some of it is really obvious, or that you've mentioned. Grant Morrison, that's a no-brainer. Keith Giffen for me is a no-brainer. If I don't get, I have March Hare and Dominion and Punks and Video Jack and, the Hell on Earth sci-fi graphic novel in the 80s from Keith Giffen. Beyond the Legion stuff and Doom Patrol and what he's doing now, all of his obscure stuff. Trencher. I have, who the hell wants to read Trencher? I do. And I'll give anything Jonathan Hickman writes, since Nightly News #1, I will give all of his first issues I will pick up and try to stick with if it catches my interest.
So what percentage of Hickman #1s have succeeded in keeping you as a reader?
A bunch of them. A lot of, some... He did those, what was it? It was Transhuman, Pax Romana, and a Red Wing, I think. There was a bunch of miniseries he threw out at once that I got the first issues but never continued on. They didn't quite grab me, but I've since I picked up the back issues. But even when he started Avatar, when he did God is Dead, I was like, yeah, I'll pick it up. I didn't stick with it, but I went all the way to Avatar, which is rare for me. So he's someone who, I definitely pick up his stuff. I really wish he would write, if not DC's version of the Legion of Superheroes, maybe an Imperial Guard saga. I think he would. I would love for him to mix his sci-fi and all of his crazy ideas into something that grand in the Marvel Universe.
That's a good idea, Peter. It's a really good idea.
I mean, he even did... Go ahead.
No, go ahead, sir, please.
I was going to say, when Top Cow was doing the pilot season, He did it was just a one shot. The Core, I picked that up. It never went to series, obviously, because he didn't win that year. But I loved that, and that's really obscure. So
one writer. I'm sorry, Peter. Please.
Go ahead.
Please.
No, go ahead.
No. Well, I was terribly remiss. One writer I forgot to mention who's so vitally important, both to me as a reader and just as a lover of the comic medium, is Greg Rucka. And in fact, when we did our pull list last time, Pants, I should have committed seppuku immediately because I forgot to mention Lazarus, which honestly is in the running for me to unseat Saga as Book of the Year.
Wow.
That comic is tremendous. It's one of the smartest books on the stands. I really think we should address it on a future episode in terms of at least the first trade. Michael Lark is probably doing the best artwork of his career. And Rucka, between Queen and Country, Gotham Central, his novels, and now Lazarus, he is a master comic book writer. And he's another guy who could do all kinds of topics. And if you have not read Lazarus, and if you're interested in, sort of dystopian stories that involve, corporate intrigue, an America that could very well be where corporations don't just run the country behind the scenes, as they very much do now, but now they overtly divide the earth between them and so forth.
Yeah, we've slipped back into feudalism, in other words.
Yeah, I can't recommend that book enough. So Rucka is another writer who I should have mentioned.
Well, now, speaking of Lazarus, Murd, did you not read that in the car on the way to Heroes Con?
You remember correctly.
All
It's
right.
a copy of Lazarus Volume 1 that I bought at Wild Pig Comics, I'm pretty sure. Read that on the way down. It covers the first 4 issues and found a $5 copy of Volume 2 down there. So I'm all set to read and possibly even talk about on this program the first 4 issues.
Terrific.
Whenever you're ready, Chris.
All right.
You guys remember Eric from Idaho that came to the 10th anniversary?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, the Tales from the Long
Long
Box?
Box review, right?
Long Box Review, yeah,
Yes.
Long Box Review podcast. He and I did a Lazarus talk on that episode, on his podcast. I forget. We might have gone a little further than the first bunch of issues, because Chris is right. It's fascinating, and the text pages alone, I think sometimes I'm more interested in all that world-building stuff than the main story, but
Right.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating.
Because Rucka, as Peter said, he explains to the reader through these text pieces how the world got to this point. And it's so detailed. I mean, the thought he put into it. And just thinking about, the impact of new technologies and how they might apply both in this world he's created in our own near future in sort of, the quote, the real world. Peter, we'll talk more about this another time, but I think it's a vitally important comic book right now.
Yeah.
Trade waiters beware. I can tell you none of the things you guys are describing appeared in the traded editions, so I feel I've missed out now.
Well, you know what? I think I'm glad you mentioned that, Murd. I think Lazarus is one of the, and I emphasize, very few floppy comics on the stand where you're getting your money's worth. Because, what is it, is it $350, Peter? I want to say it's $350.
Yeah, somewhere around there, yeah.
So you're not only getting this tremendous story, but you're getting such dense, and I don't mean dense in a bad way, such dense material in the back. Again, it's another example of how the indie publishers put Marvel and DC to shame when it comes to the best bang for your buck when you're buying a monthly comic. So
it was a 1-2 punch between my local retailer here and you, Chris, at the one party that I actually went to all the way at your house, where both of you, Rex, said you need to read Lazarus, and I said, all right, that's 2 retailers, and I need to go read that. So
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
To go back to my list, is there any doubt the Latino trinity of George Perez, Phil Jimenez, and Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, which may now become a quad instead of a trinity, because I find that I'm picking up everything that Emma Rios does. Now, of course, that's a little bit self-serving as well.
She's your sister.
Everything,
I kid, of course.
Yeah, Firestar, Pretty Deadly, which is great. She did a cover on the Shudder series that I picked up, and then she's working on this new book, The Island, from Image. So everything she does, I find that I really love her art style. It has a very fluid feel, which I really love. Paul Pope is another artist on my list that I love, and he does so many. It's rare to get a full-length Paul Pope book, so anything he puts out, I'll pick up. I realized there for a while I was picking up a lot of Jerome Pena with Dean White on colors. Anytime they were paired up, I'll pick up their work. Frank Quietly, because he does, so few things. And there was a time, and Dustin Weaver currently, who's doing the Infinity Gauntlet Secret Wars tie-in, one of the few tie-ins I'm actually reading, because he's doing the art and co-writing it as well. I really love his artwork. He did the Jonathan Hickman Shield series, the art on that. The final issue of that is soon to be released, finally, after so much time. Again, I love his artwork. And then I realized Travis Charest was someone who I used to follow, but he no longer, he does some webcomic stuff, but he doesn't do much in the way of printed stuff anymore. Character-wise, real quick, anything Amethyst, because I grew up with it, I will read. Anytime Ambush Bug shows up, I'm going to get it. Legion of Superheroes, Vibe, because he's my fiction suit, you know. Anything Captain Comet, anything Captain Carrot, Titans, OMAC. Chris, you mentioned Byrne. I think his 4-issue black and white OMAC series, for me, is the best Byrne. It's like the height of Byrne's artwork in that. I love that miniseries. And I don't collect everything Dick Grayson, but certainly the Grayson series and the Nightwing. But if he has appearances in other books, I don't go for that. But I'll pick anything up that. Story-wise, anything sci-fi, I love to at least try. Certainly anything crisis-related, duh. You know, pick that up. I'm sure Adam's the same way on that one.
Giving you the thumbs up.
Yeah. And I just realized this. I've been on a little bit, this is kind of speaking to what Chris was saying about back issue creators or comics. I'm realizing that for the past couple of years, I've been on a real DC 70s Bronze Age kick.
Hey.
So Adam will appreciate this. I just found the last issue I needed of Secret Society of Supervillains.
I totally appreciate that.
Yep. Found that in a store here in Swarthmore. Hercules Unbound, because it has Garcia Lopez artwork. That crazy Starfire series, I have all those issues.
Right. So this is not Princess Coriander. It's not the Teen
No.
Titans Starfire.
It's that random sword and sorcery girl or whatever. I haven't even read it yet. I have a crap ton of Commandy issues. I'm working on a whole bunch of Kirby OMAC, Steel, and I want to start getting things like Ragman and Cobra and Claw. This is my list. Time Warp. I got to get the Karate Kid series because it's a Legion thing. Richard Dragon, Black Lightning, Early Warlord, which I did have a few that my uncle passed on to me. The artwork, that micro artwork and the Early Warlord stuff is so beautiful. And you turn the first page and every book had a double-page spread.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, my God, it's so good. Plus, it has the Arion backup tales, which I want to read. And then I realized, okay, so what it really is, it's 70s DC. A lot of it is Joe Orlando is the editor, or who else is? I wrote down some. Al Milgram was the editor of a lot of these, and I'm trying to think who else, and some other people. So, and what's crazy about it, it's like all these. It's like DC was really trying to expand their line, sort of what they're doing now with the DCU stuff, of these going through other genres and these weird concepts. You know, the 70s were rife with all that stuff. So. And, of course, there's like Steel and Shade the Changing Man and Freedom Fighters, but it's a big list. Fortunately, a lot of those titles only last like 6, 7, you know. Like I got all the Star Hunters series, which is really just a random, series.
Well,
so,
Peter, that was all pre-implosion, correct?
Yeah,
pre-DC
implosion.
Yeah.
Yep. So
here's what you have to do. I have a lot of those books in my inventory. Send me a list, and we'll take care of you.
When I was at the last Wild Pig sale, there was I saw a bunch there, and I picked up some random stuff I needed. So I love it. I love that. I don't know why. It's kooky. It's quirky. Adam, I'm sure you can speak to that era too.
I'm not. See, I'm like a bobbleheader on the other end of the spectrum. I am definitely where you're at, Peter.
Yeah. So that's my list. So,
By the way, Peter, I just picked up a collection a couple weeks ago from a very nice person, a woman who worked at Forbidden Planet in the 80s. And she had about 3,000 books, primarily from the 80s and late 70s. A lot of the stuff you're mentioning is in that collection. Now, when we get collections now at Wild Pig, we do first look sales. We put everything out for one day before we file it away. A, it's less for us to file, and B, it gives people a chance to see what's new right off the bat. But we still have some of the stuff you just mentioned. So really, send me a list. In fact, now you have this, but there was a full run of Arion, Lord of Atlantis in this collection, for example, which I know you love.
Yeah.
So
it's all
that
like, yeah, it's so quirky, some of that stuff. So yeah, that's a great new back issue hunt I've been on.
Excellent.
And I should mention Jack Kirby, for God's sake. I mean, I can't believe I didn't. I mean, basically anything he's involved in. I mean, there's a heavy metal magazine coming out in a few months where they're going to show his Lords of Light storyboard work for that defunct site. Well, it never went anywhere. It was a sci-fi movie that never went anywhere, but they used it in the Argo operation in Iran. So I'm really excited. Anything Kirby has done, I'm definitely checking it out.
All right, very cool. That was a wonderful topic, and wow, some good stuff there. But
People who can see me.
yeah, we haven't done one of the Muddle the Murds in quite a while, so I figured while we have you here, we'll do a Muddle the Murd. We're going to dig into the CJ's mailbag here for this entry for our trivia contest. This comes to us from Natalie Henson, and Natalie is playing for a piece of artwork here we got sent from a listener some time ago, a Will Portacio head sketch portrait of the Hulk.
All right.
So, Natalie, you're playing for that. Hope you win if you happen to muddle the Murd. All right. Question number 1. DC pre-1970.
Okay.
The Atomic Knights first appeared in Strange Adventures number 117 in 1960. Name the 6 members of the group.
Oh. The only one I can think of, and it might not even be correct, is Gardner Grail.
That is the first one listed here.
Okay, good, because he became the Atomic Knight then when they tried to fold him into like mainstream DC continuity. It was revealed that that whole series was just in his head. It was like a delusion, and he became part of the mainstream DCU as the Atomic Knight. Joined the Outsiders for a while, But yeah, as far as the other characters in the strip, I can't name a single one.
Peter?
No, I only knew Grail. I didn't even know Gardner. So. No, that's not obscure, but that's hard. That's hard.
Chris, anything?
My knowledge of the Atomic Knights is very limited.
Well, Natalie's going for the jugular here. She wants that Portacio Hulk.
Wait to get the question, too. But anyway, so the answer is Sergeant Gardner Grail, Whale Hobard, Hollis Hobard, Brendan Smith, Douglas Harold, and Marine Harold.
I had no chance.
Okay. This one I need pen and paper for.
They used to write on mutated Dalmatians, I think.
Yep.
They sure did.
Yep.
I've got the trade of Atomic Knights by Murphy Anderson, which I bought once again at a discount at Wild Pig Comics.
Nice.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, here we go. Hold on to your wigs and keys. Question 2, Marvel from the 70s to 2000.
Now, do I need a pen and paper for this? Or
I do. I don't know if you do. Question 2. In Avengers, Volume 3, Issues 2 and 3, Morgan Le Fay restructures reality with the help of the Twilight Sword, bringing the Avengers under her control. At least 25 Avengers are given somewhat new names in this reality. Name at least 15 of them.
What? Oh, that's too many.
That's the question here.
Jamie needs to be here with his gavel because 15.
If you can name 5, I would give it to you.
Judge Peter has taken over. All right.
Machine Man became Sir McInery.
Hang on a second here. Let me look here. You are correct, sir. Machine Man is Sir McHenry. That is one.
Okay, the Vision became the Ghost of Stone.
Hang on a second here. That is correct. Ghost of Stone, the Vision. That's two.
Of course it's correct.
Captain America became Yeoman America.
That is correct. That's three.
She-Hulk was the Jade Giantess.
That is correct.
Wow.
I think I may have reached the end of my... No, Peter's mouthing things at me. Got to do this by the book here. Now, good grief, there were so many of them. Warbird... that's right. Thor. They gave him a Donar, I think was the name he was given.
Donar the Mighty for Thor. I will accept that.
That's 5.
That's 5.
Do you want to name any others?
You want to name any others?
I probably could if I sat here for the rest of the night, but
okay.
It's not good radio.
I will read. I will read in order of appearance the answer.
Wait, do this, Pants.
Go ahead.
Name the fantasy name and we'll see if we know who the Avenger is.
Okay, well, of course, Jade Giantess was She-Hulk.
Right.
Lady Marvel.
That's Warbird.
Say that again?
That's
Was
Warbird
it
or Miss
or
Marvel.
was it Monica Rambeau?
It says here Ms. Marvel.
No.
All right, so
Carol
Carol Danvers.
Yeah.
Okay. Donar the Mighty, of course, was Thor. Knave of Hearts.
Jack of Hearts.
No.
But wait, Jack of Hearts hadn't become an Avenger yet at that point. So
No, but
Star
this
Fox,
is-
maybe?
Star Fox.
Oh, my mistake. My mistake.
Sea Lord.
Namor?
Correct. Circe the Sorceress.
Cersei.
Circe.
The Eternal. Yeah.
Iron Knight.
Iron Man.
Iron Man. Blackbird.
Black Canary.
Darkhawk.
Oh no, she was dead at this point.
It's
Oh,
also
yeah, she's also a DC character, so...
I meant. God, I meant to say Mockingbird. God. Ah, terrible.
Oh, what was it, Darkhawk, though?
No.
It was not.
Blackbird.
The Wasp.
No.
Blackbird.
Hmm.
Falcon.
Falcon.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
That's
wow.
that's kind of crass, but anyway.
It is the Middle Ages. And this was done by a villainess, after all.
Right.
Yeah.
Sir Fulminator.
Was that Quasar? Oh, no, wait, it was Living Lightning.
Living Lightning.
Because Fulmen is Latin for lightning. So.
Oh, boy. Lady Comet.
What?
Lady Comet.
Lady Comet.
Firestar?
Firestar. Star Knight.
Black Knight.
Quasar?
That's Quasar.
That's
Okay.
Quasar. Daystar.
Firebird. No.
Daystar. Who had solar powers?
Daystar.
Daystar. Hold on. Oh, shit. Is there a sun? Solar? Yeah. I can't remember.
Oh, Sunfire? No, he wasn't an Avenger.
No. I mean, it was anybody who could have. This is Busiek and Perez, and they threw everybody in it. So I'm trying to think who. I don't remember. Who is it, Pants?
Photon.
Oh, this
Monica
Rambeau.
That's Monica Rambeau, yeah.
Ghost of Stone, of course, was Vision. Gypsy Witch.
Scarlet Witch.
Correct. Yeoman America was Captain America. Longbow.
Hawkeye.
I was trying to think what he was called. I remember the scene where Cap just, by sheer force of will, stared him in the eyes and snapped him out of LaFay's spell. And his first remark was, "Yeesh, at least I don't look like a brown plant man this time." Dig at his Heroes Reborn redesign. But yeah, I couldn't remember what he called himself. So, darn.
Pixie.
Wasp?
Yes. Gigantus.
Goliath?
Hank Pym?
Hank Pym, yeah. Grimmelkin.
Is
Is that Beast?
Tigra.
Tigra.
Oh.
Wow, well done, Murd.
Yep, Grimalkin's it's a kind of cat. It's like a witch's familiar cat.
Yeah, come on. Squire Justice.
Justice.
Justice, yeah.
Or Astro Boy, or
It says
not Astro Boy.
Vance
Astro.
Astrovic, right.
Yeah.
Fire Maiden.
That's probably Firebird.
Correct. Elemental. Elemental.
Crystal,
right. Lady Magdalena.
Magdalena.
Right. Sir McInerney was Machine Man. And finally, Princess Selene. Or Priestess Selene.
Moondragon.
Moondragon.
Very good, right.
All right, so we give him credit for question 2. You have not been muddled, but just for heck of it, here's question 3. Independent 2000 to present. The Sword, which is a great book that I think you would enjoy, by the Lunar Brothers, was published by Image Comics between 2007 and 2010. Name the 4 siblings seeking to kill the paraplegic hero, Dana Brighton, and regain the titular sword.
Inky, Winky, Blinky, and Clyde.
No. Anybody want to guess?
I never read Sword, no clue.
Zakros, Knossos, Malia, and Fiestos.
Yeah.
And there's a note here that says, as Encyclopedic Murd probably knows, these are Minoan sites on the Greek island of Crete.
Oh.
I did not know that. I know. Oh, wait a minute. Knossos? That one I've heard of. That's actually the capital. That was where King Minos had his labyrinth, if I'm remembering correctly.
Of course it was.
But yeah, the others I did not know.
Okay, so it says here, thanks for the opportunity to play and look forward to seeing you at some point of future cheers. And it says here, John H. So I guess maybe John Henson sent it in under Natalie's email address to fool us.
Okay. Well, whether it be Natalie or John or some fusion of the two, thank you very much for playing the game. I'm sorry that your second question was ruled a little too extreme, but it gave us some fun at least.
Yes.
Sure did. Thank you, sir.
Because how many were there? 20 that potentially? 20?
25, I believe, right.
All right, so you got a fifth, right? Like you got what, 20%? That's more than enough for a non-muddle. Those I like the theme though, the Atomic Knights, the fantasy. There's a nice little theme going on there.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that. Good catch, Peter. The original Stumpy. The man to whom this segment originally belonged. So if he says I'm off the hook, I'm only too willing to believe him.
One of the founders has spoken.
That's correct.
So.
They can send a hate mail to Brian at Comic.
When you're trying to search the archives. Gentlemen, anything else on your mind you want to chat about?
Well, let me give a little talk back to something that a listener sent in to me a little while ago.
Certainly.
While we were in London, Pants, most recently for the London Super Comic Convention,
yes.
it was my good fortune to meet a young couple, originally from South Africa, but now living in Scotland. Their names were Ryan and Helen.
Ah, yes.
Yep, had a good time talking to them, and they mentioned to me a comic, an original graphic novel produced in their homeland of South Africa that they thought I would enjoy. Mm-hmm. And so they actually arranged to send me a copy. And I'm holding it up to the camera so you guys can see it. The folks at home can't. But it's called Rebirth. It's created by Daniel Browd or Browda and Josh Ryba. And it's self-published through their Red Giant Productions company, also published by Reach Publishers. And it's a South African vampire story. You know, just following in the footsteps of Neil Blomkamp, I think his name was, the creator of District 9 and most recently Chappie, trying to put a distinctly nationalist South African spin on classic genres of fiction and entertainment. And so this is a vampire story, and it's all about the last surviving few vampires. There's literally only like 4 or 5 of them left in the entire Republic of South Africa. There is an interesting sort of subplot, which when Ryan told me about this, he stressed the historical aspects of it, because there is this historical subplot dealing with actual historical figures in the colonial history of South Africa, specifically the guy I'm pointing to on the cover here. This is Jan van Riebeeck, And forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. My command of Dutch is not the same as my command of German. But he's actually the original founder and colonial administrator of South Africa under the auspices of the Dutch East India Company back in the 17th century. And incidentally, the Dutch East India Company is also depicted as just a front for a ruling council of European vampires back in those days. So there you go, like the driving force behind European colonialism for several centuries worth of history is depicted here as a bunch of blood-sucking monstrous parasites. Yeah, it's a blow well struck there by the creative team, I think. It's not exactly central. The main plot is just about these present-day vampires who are suffering from a kind of virus, kind of like a vampiric AIDS that is slowly killing them all. And they've been kind of cut adrift by the ruling council up in Europe. They've been cut off, quarantined. They're not even allowed to actively pursue a cure for themselves. They're just supposed to sit there and die. And it's about their desperate attempts to hunt down one young man named Westerford, who unwittingly possesses a certain X factor in his blood chemistry that might be the key to saving these vampires' undead lives. And from there, it's just kind of this... it is just like a vampire action movie set in Johannesburg. There's also elements of crime drama because certain scenes are set in a local prison where the vampires have an arrangement with the warden to come in and feast on inmates who have been discipline problems. So yeah, it's not quite as steeped in South African history, real or alternative, and or South African politics as I'd kind of hoped it would be. It's mainly, like I said, a vampire action story, but it's enjoyable enough for what it is. And the subplot mainly concerns Van Riebeck here again, and this blue-haired young lady next to him, who was one of the few surviving present-day vampires, whom Riebeck himself sired way back in the 1600s. So I thank you, Ryan and Helen, for giving me a chance to experience this little piece of where graphic fiction is at in your native country. Those of you who are interested in experiencing it for yourselves, I believe you may go to, there is a URL here someplace. Here we go, rebirthgraphicnovel.com. At least one person did contact me after I mentioned this on the show when it arrived, asking where I could find a copy. Try rebirthgraphicnovel.com. I think you can order it from there. If you'd like to see what an urban, contemporary South African vampire story might look like, this is an example. So I kind of enjoyed it, and I thank you to Ryan and Helen for sending it our way here in the States.
All right. Well, just another follow-up before I think about it from Heroes Con. I was talking to Tom King down there about Grayson, and I mentioned that I had bought issues found issues 1 through 7 of Grayson either through him or through some dollar bins, and was caught up with that issue 7. And then he mentioned issue 8. There was a reveal at the end. I found issue 8 at the convention for $1. And now, just yesterday, I actually went to Golden Eagle and bought off the rack issue number 9, which starts a new arc and a new spiral head. And it's like, I didn't want to get it to DC again, but now he's got me buying.
Pulling you back in.
Pants, it's perfectly understandable because Grayson is one of the best titles DC is producing.
Yes, I understand. And, there's really no capes or tights in it. It's just, Dick Grayson as a spy. So
it's outstanding.
It's a different take, and what he told me, who was at the end of issue 8, it's like, because his character was in Spiral before, so that was very interesting.
Yep.
Way to support Tom Kim by finding them in the dollar bin.
Well, that's what I told them. I wasn't buying any DC books at all, so yeah, if somebody has extras, but I did buy this one off the rack, although I didn't pre-order. But I did pre-order Omega Man number 1, which is becoming my next shipment. Then there's a future off the rack.
It's going to be an off the rack review for us, so you can play along with us there, Brian. And I got you beat in the dollar bin category because I got a free copy of Grayson: The Future's End one-shot, which I know, Chris, you really enjoyed.
Well,
as did I. I got my free copy at Baltimore last year.
That is an example of the lost art of the one-and-done story.
Yep.
It's outstanding.
Yeah, I look forward to reading it and picking out the little references that Tom said I should be looking for. He says there's a Waiting for Godot reference in there that he's counting on me to pick up on, and I've never read that play, but I'll do my best. Now, while we're on the subject of cleaning up after Heroes Con, let me also...
okay.
Did you do any kind of a shout-out list for your last bit of audio?
That's the thing. I did not, because we were down there. Thank you for mentioning that, Murd. We were down there, Murd and I. We didn't have a booth. We were just wandering around. We each bought our own tickets in. But we did meet a lot of listeners there, whether, actually in line or at tables. People heard us talking, or just, around the hotel and everything. And I didn't keep a running tally, and I'm not sure if we would have named them because we not necessarily leave people out, Murd, but any that stood out to you, that sought you out? I mean, we're at Tom King's table, and somebody, I guess, recognized our voices there at his table, right?
Oh, yeah, a young man named Boyan.
Oh, that's right, and which means king in some...
Bosnian.
Thank you.
Yep, he's from his family's from Bosnia, and he stopped by Tom King's table to show him that he had a tattoo of a king, like a playing card king, on his bicep. And as we're standing there talking to Tom, this young man recognized our voices and said he's been listening to us for about a year and a half. Okay. So thanks for listening, Boyan.
And he probably has no idea who Peter Rios is.
Learn.
That's all right. Neither do I.
To the CGS archives.
Oh, yeah, and I also wanted to say hello to Trevor Tupper, a.k.a. FX Matt on the
phone. Oh, yes.
Yep, he happened to be waiting in line ahead of us to get into the hall on Sunday, and he's been wanting to meet us. He met you last year, I guess, Brian, and this year he finally got to meet me, so nice to meet you, Matt. Trevor. FX Matt. And on a personal note, I would like to extend apologies to our friend, colorist Charlie Kirchhoff, for not getting back to his table on Sunday to say a final goodbye, and to Mouse Guard's David Peterson for not getting to his table at all during the entire weekend. I'm afraid gluttony got the better of me. I spent all day Friday shopping for cheap back issues, and I consequently didn't get enough time to visit and socialize, and I feel like I kind of got a failing grade for Heroes Con as a result. But you guys, I promise I'll make it up to you at New York.
And just another note about Heroes Con, Chris. I know your schedule is always difficult with family and school, but if you can ever get down to Heroes Con with us, you would have a tremendous time.
I'd love to go because I went to Heroes Con back in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
With my dear friend Randy Roscoe, who was actually the original co-founder of Wild Pig Comics.
Oh,
and
very good.
We went, this is 95, 96 we went down there. And I loved it then. I can only imagine what it's like now. So, unfortunately, it always falls right when school is ending. I have to deal with all the nonsense at the end of the school year. So it's almost impossible.
Yeah, I think next year it's, again, the same weekend, Father's Day weekend, June 17th, 18th, and 19th.
But if fate works in my favor, I won't be teaching forever. So when I'm an older person, I can make that trek. So. Yeah,
and Peter, I mean, you've been there with me before and a couple times. You know what it's like down there. It's just, I said before, I said on the air, it's my favorite comic convention.
Yeah. I'm that's another one that, if of all the ones that I think I could put up with crowds and lines and things like that, that's the one that I would do it for, because everybody that goes to that convention is real comic book oriented. Whereas New York, some people just go to New York because they live in New York and they walk around and they want to see all the great stuff. And that's great. San Diego's the same way, but these Emerald City is another one, but sometimes I think even that got a little too big. Plus it's 7 hours, by flight. So 6 hours or whatever. So the Heroes Con is the one. Shelton's great. And there's so much good food down there, and the people are great. And
Murd and I made it to Mertz again, the soul food restaurant.
Oh, God, I love soul food.
Tasty stuff.
Whenever my family travels to Florida, past 2 summers, we've gone there by car. We use the computer. We stop at every soul food joint we can find to and fro. And boy, we found some wonderful little dives right off 95. Incredible.
That is a road trip. Wow.
Well, welcome to Comic Geek Eat.
Yeah, I could rap rhapsodically on Heroes Con forever and ever, but
well, the fact that you mentioned that it's a comic show first and foremost, further is a catalyst for me to get there eventually. Because I'll be honest, I'm sick and tired of New York. I haven't even gone the past couple of years because part of it's just because I'm getting older. I'm tired of crowds, and I'm tired of and I understand why they do this, of course, but just for me, to go to a show where comics are a shrinking part of the whole show, I'm just not interested, and plus they've gotten chintzier with the retailer benefits, to be honest with you, too. But, shows that are first and foremost comics, that's where I want to be. So we'll get there eventually. And I've never been to Baltimore, for example.
Oh, goodness.
Which I hear is another great comic-centered show.
Oh, definitely.
So
I'll actually make
that's
Emerald City is another good one to try.
also. I mean, Baltimore's always right when school starts. So it's also difficult
right there in
for me
September.
but, you know, we'll get there eventually.
But speaking of conventions, I am going to be. My next convention is the Connecticut convention up in the Mohegan Sun Casino up in August 14th, 15th, and 16th. That's my next convention stop, and I will be going to Baltimore as well in September. Is probably also in New York in October.
My God, Pants, you're not going to come out of that Connecticut one with any money if it's in a casino.
Well, funny you
Two
mention
of your vices.
Funny you mention that. There is a convention-sponsored. I'm going to give some publicity here. I'm going up to the convention. Convention-sponsored poker tournament on Saturday night, where you, of course, can win the tournament. And there's a special bonus if you knock out the celebrity contestant, who is Ming from Comic Book Men, will be there. So I'm thinking of throwing my hat in and, of course, my money into the poker tournament that Saturday night, sanctioned by the convention.
I'll see your. How do you play that? You go. I'll see your Speedball 1 and raise you a Power Pack 10. Or
no, there's no more of that seeing and raising it. It's rage. You don't see and raise. That's just a call. Learn it, Peter, before you lose your shirt.
Pants, I didn't know you were a avid card player.
Oh, he's a shark.
I'm a fish, is what I am, and I'm not avid. But when the opportunity presents itself, certainly. I mean, I've played. Oh, here we go again in a tangent. I played in the quote unquote legendary Jim Lee, Scott Dunbier poker games out in Comic-Con, which I don't think are even having anymore. I think I finished second at a Pittsburgh Comic-Con tournament once. I played at Heroes Con a couple of years ago with some back issue dealers. That was fun. Yeah, I get around a little bit.
That's how he used to fund all those conventions. He'd go down to Atlantic City, win a whole chunk of change, and next thing you know, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to this convention."
Oh, that's right. I did win. I finished second in the Atlantic City tournament after a stop by Stone Harbor. Yeah, I remember that. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then I want to thank everybody for listening to this loosey-goosey, all the way crazy comic talk episode. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And, Peter, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show, Peter.
I thought this was actually quite structured today.
Yes, mostly thanks to you with your wonderful topic there. All right, and once again, this episode was brought to you by GeekNationTours.com. Go to their website to check out their vacation package for the upcoming New York Comic Con this October. And you can send us an email. We're comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. Visit our website. We're comicgeekspeak.com. You can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. We're Comic Geek Speak. You can join in the conversation at thecomicforums.com and talk back about this episode as well as many, many other topics at thecomicforums.com. Again, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Comic Geek Speak, to see our videos there. We want to thank everyone who contributed to the show. We really appreciate it. Could not do without you. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.